Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind. I've been telling you over the last couple of days that the Democrat establishment is panicking. We covered a report yesterday that supposedly Barack Obama was ringing the alarm bells, warning Democrats of the risk of a second Donald Trump term, attempting to warn the Democrats that Trump is rising and likely to win the next election. Well, that was a report from the Washington Post, although it was exactly that, just a report. Well, today I guess we have confirmation, as Michelle Obama essentially says it, most likely echoing what her husband's thinking. Democrat panic is in full effect. Donald Trump is on the rise in a very, very big way. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so the panic is real. Take a look.
Are we moving at all fast enough? What are we doing about education? Are people going to vote? And why aren't people voting? Are we too stuck to our phones? I mean, those are the things that keep me up because you don't have control over them. And you wonder, where are we in this? Where are our hearts? What's going to happen in this next election? I am terrified about what could possibly happen because our leaders matter. Who we select, who speaks for us, who holds that bully pulpit. It affects us in ways that sometimes I think people take for granted. The fact that people think that government, does it really even do anything? And I'm like, oh my God. Does government do everything for us? And we cannot take this democracy for granted. And sometimes
Michelle Obama is saying it outright that she is worried, scared of the next election. And what exactly do you think that means? It's not coded language, I'll tell you that much. It's very clear, in fact, it's explicit. What they're scared of is this. Here's the most recent Redfield-Wilton Strategies poll, which was conducted in 6 separate swing states, some of them arguably the most important ones. And the numbers, just visually are stunning. 2024 presidential election voting intention in swing states. If the candidates for the presidential election on November 5th, 2024 are as follows, for whom will you vote? Donald J. Trump, Republican. In Arizona, Trump wins at 41% to 35% for Joe Biden and 10% for RFK. In Florida, he's up 11 points. In Georgia, he's up 8. In Michigan, he's up 2. North Carolina, he's up 4. And in Pennsylvania, supposedly up 1. Leading across the board in every single important state. What happened to the copium narrative that if RFK was included on the ballot, he would pull from Trump supporters? The spooky conspiracy theorists are going to flock to RFK and ditch Biden, that's what they told us. Well, it seems as though that isn't the case at all. Not even close. The exact opposite is happening to the extent where now Trump is possibly leading in Michigan. Honestly, not something I was expecting. I'd figure Wisconsin would be more likely to go, even Pennsylvania. But now it seems even Michigan is on the Trump train. Joe Biden won Michigan in the last election cycle by nearly 150,000 votes if my memory serves correct. That kind of flip is massive. We might be heading into one of the biggest electoral landslides in modern American history, bigger than 2016. Or maybe pull it back a little bit, likely to mirror something that we saw in 2016. Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, the Rust Belt as a whole seems to be trending rightward, at least in the short term during this presidential election. Then, like I keep saying in all of these election analysis videos, the states that Democrats thought they were making massive gains in, like Arizona and Georgia, are reverting completely. Trump is up 6 points in Arizona and a staggering 8 points in Georgia, according to this survey. And so what do you think the Democrats are going to do now? What's going to be the last-ditch strategy? Are they going to pump Joe Biden full of drugs and put him out there, attempting to change the narrative about him? Probably not. They've been attempting that for the last 3 years, hasn't exactly worked. Probably what's going to happen is more shenanigans. Either they're going to try to rip Donald Trump from the ballot or rip RFK from the ballot. As per usual, the desperation is kicking in. They're losing. The idea was that Trump is unelectable. But voter sentiment, according to this poll, tells a very different story. 2024 election voter expectations. If the following individuals are the two candidates for the main two parties, who do you think would be more likely to win the 2024 presidential election? When asked this question, Donald Trump becomes even more popular, up 14 points in Arizona. Granted, that's not actual support, it's more what people are predicting, but I think it's relevant on the issue of electability. The idea is that Donald Trump is so unelectable, but it seems like the people have a different view entirely. People think that he's going to win, and that right there plays a really big role. If some of those people are Democrats who are convinced in their mind that Trump is coming back, they might view voting as a futile endeavor. They might not show up to the polls. If your party is discouraged and disoriented, that's not exactly a recipe for electoral success at the ballot. I'd argue quite the opposite. And of course, the opposite could be true. Complacency on the Republican side if people think that Trump is going to win no matter what. But considering the last couple of elections, I don't necessarily think that's the case. And considering the current state of the country, I'd argue Republican voter turnout is going to be quite healthy this year. And I think that's a pretty easy prediction to make just considering the circumstance of this election. There's two motivating factors. One of them is get Joe Biden out of office. The guy's a walking, talking disaster. And motivating factor number two, the Democrat Party assault on democracy that we've seen in weaponization and politicization of the justice system. If those aren't the perfect motivating factors heading into an election season, then I don't know what is. Meanwhile, the other side, Democrats just don't really have the same motivation. Joe Biden's attempting to rally the Democrat troops by pushing fear-mongering nonsense, the whole orange man bad narrative. But that kind of political messaging, that kind of rhetoric only appeals to a very, very specific type of audience. The Rachel Maddow people. To win this next election, you have to win independent voters. And again, the numbers are extremely clear here. Here's a poll from ActiVote US, where they specifically surveyed leaners, people who are leaning, and not registered voters, but likely voters, people who are likely to vote on election day. And the numbers are staggering. Trump is ahead 8 points in total, and with independents, his support rises to 55% to 45% with a plus 10 lead. Joe Biden's going to have to do something and do something fast to win over independent voters. And orange man bad, Donald Trump this, Donald Trump that, Donald Trump's literally Hitler, Donald Trump bullied me when I was a kid, gave me wedgies, and shoved my face into the toilet bowl. Not exactly a winning message, not exactly winning over independent voters who don't subscribe to the regular TDS nonsense. And so Democrats are going to have to try to do something and do something fast. I don't know what it's going to be. All I know is that it's not going to be a messaging campaign. They keep trying new things from ultra MAGA to Bidenomics to Trump is literally Hitler. Now Joe Biden is attempting to revive the whole I was a civil rights leader thing.
I've spent more time in the Bethel AME Church in Wilmington, Delaware than I have than most people I know, black or white, have spent in that church. Because that's where I started I'm serious. I started a civil rights movement.
He literally said, quote, "That's where I started a civil rights movement." During his speech in Pennsylvania, he likened himself to George Washington. Now I guess he's Martin Luther King Jr. But obviously it's another idiotic claim considering, Joe Biden said this.
During the 60s, I was, in fact, very concerned about the civil rights movement. I was not an activist. I worked at an all-black swimming pool in the east side of Wilmington, Delaware. I was involved in what they were thinking, what they were feeling. I was involved, but I was not out marching. I was not down in Selma. I was not anywhere else.
Yeah, Joe Biden, who literally wasn't an activist, and basically all the way up to the 2000s, I'd even argue he was a public racist. Yeah, that guy's now trying to paint himself as a civil rights leader. Give me a frickin' break. The people aren't buying it. His approval rating is in the gutter. Independents don't want anything to do with him. Donald Trump is winning every single swing state on paper, and the Obamas are panicking. Momentum, momentum, momentum. Trump's got all the momentum. Voter enthusiasm's on the Republican side. Everything's looking good. Now I guess let's see what happens moving forward, and most importantly, let's see what kind of tricks the Democrats are going to get up to. But as of right now, on paper, in terms of sentiment, in terms of the data, this is where we stand. And of course, you know what that means. You know exactly what's probably happening at the DNC headquarters now, don't you? Alright, well that's the video. We haven't done polling analysis in a while. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.